It's the Eastside Fantasy Football Podcast. We are back. It is Saturday, October 1st. Joe, my team's looking a little different. I told you it wasn't a yard sale. It was a fire sale. I'm getting rid of everyone. It's October. It's spooky season. Joe, welcome aboard. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I got involved in that fire sale. You were auctioning off your players. I got involved. We'll get into that later. Going into this week, I'm a little down. I did lose my first ever. I know. I'm sorry, Tessoni, that you're going to be like, oh, no, I got one loss. But I did lose to Atkins this week. He's an honorable opponent, though. I texted him that. But excited to get into week 4.
Well, that's lovely, Joe. Today, we're going to hit the Monday Night Football recap real quick. We got a couple trades to break down. Spoiler alert, I'm in all of them. We're going to preview the weekend, starts and sits, and we got a special guest. We'll get to him in a second. But, Joe, do you want to get into the news?
You know I do.
All right, Joe, first up, Keenan Allen left practice early today, hamstring. Remember, he was out week 1. He left mid-game with the injury. Then they had the short week on Thursday Night Football, didn't play last week. So now, I mean, this is a decent time removed from it, and now he leaves early in practice. I don't think Keenan Allen, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, at the time, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I didn't think he would play because he had a Thursday night game following the injury. And then him not playing this past Sunday was pretty surprising and concerning, considering he hasn't really done team practicing yet because he's been doing individual stuff on the side. So definitely not ideal.
No, it's not. Also, McCorkle Jones. That's right. I'm going to call him that all year now. McCorkle Jones did not practice this week. I mean, we talked about it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He's not going to play. It's a high ankle sprain. It looks bad. He won't play. Next up in Detroit, DeAndre Swift. Oh, boy. Glad I got rid of him.
Wait till you say this next name.
And the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Both of them have not practiced this week. No practice Wednesday, no practice Thursday. Swift, I think we heard the news. He probably won't be there for a couple weeks. But Amon-Ra is probably not looking good to play this week, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I was saying wait till you say this next name is just because when you think of the Lions, you think of DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So just say that Campbell. Well, yeah, I mean, you can think of that too, but Dan Campbell isn't getting us fantasy football points. But just when you think of those two not practicing all week, that is not ideal for the Lions.
I have a big list right here of did not practices this week, Joe. I'm going to run through them.
Oh, yeah, a lot of big
Cordell
names.
Patterson, David Montgomery, Gabe Davis, Christian McCaffrey, Jameis Winston, and Michael Thomas. Interesting thing with Jameis and Michael Thomas, that's the London game, and we'll talk about that later. So that's going to be played really early in the morning. I feel like it's not looking good for Jameis. I don't know about Michael Thomas, but Jameis has, I mean, he's already playing through I think a fracture in the back, but I don't know. McCaffrey apparently with a quad, but they're optimistic. He just sends airwaves through. I don't think Montgomery's going to play. I think Patterson will play, and Gabe Davis, I don't know. I think he'll play. I'm going to say he plays.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that usually on the ESPN app, when you go down to a 0 projection later on in the week, like, usually you're not playing, so I don't see Montgomery playing. For the other guys, I'll just go quickly. I think Patterson will play. I mean, these are obviously just my opinions based upon the updates that I've seen. Gabe Davis, I don't think he's going to play, to be honest. Ooh. McCaffrey, I think he will. Jameis,
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird when your quarterback doesn't practice for the whole week. That's weird. Yeah. And Michael Thomas, probably not going to play. Those are all just my opinions. Obviously, do not hold me to them, but that's what I'm thinking.
Let's get a little more positive. Michael Gallup, full practice this week, and Dalvin Cook with the bionic arm is back with the
device.
Yeah, so Gallup obviously I think was close to playing last Monday night. Should be back this week, and then Dalvin Cook looks like he's not going to miss any time. So Alexander Madison holders, cry yourself a river.
Yep, I don't have too much to add to that.
Alvin Kamara, nothing about his no injury stuff to talk about, but his case, just to confirm the case, I think it was after the Pro Bowl in Las Vegas. I think he assaulted a guy.
He did not beat the case. It has been delayed.
That's not funny. His case was delayed, and so there's just no chance of suspension this year. So if you're concerned about that, no problem. And then Myles Garrett, I don't know if you saw the news. It's pretty big.
It's crazy.
On Monday, single car crash. He rested on Tuesday and Wednesday, or he was released to the hospital Tuesday, rested Wednesday. He's, I think, back at the facility today, and they haven't ruled him out. I have no idea. I mean, who knows? Yeah, I know he got in trouble because he was going 65 and a 45, so not a lot of details have been released, but he's a big defensive piece for a Cleveland defense.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to mention is that I believe his car flipped multiple times, which is crazy if he's really already back in the facilities. But no like
I think it
real
was
like no
something
disclosed
sprained.
injuries. Have you heard any disclosed injury, like specific injuries? Because I
You know,
haven't
I could
seen
look it up.
anything
I think it was just a sprain. I don't know if it was leg or arm, just a tiny sprain, a shoulder sprain. I think it was left
just a
shoulder
tiny
sprain.
one.
But yeah, it was just tiny little shoulder sprain. No, I think it was a shoulder sprain, so it's nothing he couldn't play through. So it's nothing. It was. I know there was no major injuries.
Hmm.
Joe, that's all I got for news. You got anything?
Yeah, no, I don't got anything to add. A lot of big names involved with the news, per the usual.
Perfect. So right now, let's welcome on a special guy. Uh, his name is Jake Wills, and he is the proud owner of Hooked on a Thielen. We'll find out if he's going to play Adam Thielen this week. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Wills.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like a special guy. I really do.
Oh, that's lovely.
You are special.
Thank
Jake,
you.
Jake, you're a Washington Commanders fan?
Yes. I know Joe likes calling them the Manders. I like
Go
calling
Manders.
them the commies. Put that
Oh.
together. You got the Commanders.
Well, now that I have two Commanders fans with me, a perfect time to go in the Monday Night Football recap between two of your guys' favorite teams, the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys end up winning this game. Jake, I hate to say it, but I think a last-second touchdown by one CeeDee Lamb ended up costing you a victory. How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about that game watching two of your competition? There was an unbeaten team in that, the New York Giants. They are no longer. So tell me what you guys think.
Not only fantasy implications, but monetarily, I was rooting for the Giants. And
Classic.
let's just say everything didn't go my way. But yeah, CD made a nice grab, and I lost because of it. So I will continue to hate him. That is all.
I was he was rooting against a Cowboy. I was rooting for one. I had Ezekiel Elliott recently traded to me on my team going. I needed him to get 21. He finished with a good day. I mean, he had 14 fantasy points, which I would have never been mad, but I am mad
15
at the
for
same
73
time.
and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Solid.
like I don't love that I think he has 3 weeks of negative fantasy or negative receiving yards.
Yeah, he does.
Which is weird. He has like one catch for like negative 2 yards like every week. Super strange. So would love to see him just catch a couple passes. Would be great. But yeah, Cowboy side, obviously CD looked great.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, Cooper Rush
How about this name?
continues to get it
Hendershot.
done.
I don't know who this guy is, but I'm liking his
Oh,
name.
that guy.
Giants side, Saquon is still being
Peyton
Saquon, which is good to see.
Yeah, and Saquon, he's like he'll hit a home run or it's kind of like something in between, like
Yeah.
nothing. But the big run obviously was one that capped it, 14 for 81, a touchdown, and got involved in the passing game. Joe Sterling Shepard. He's kind of been the leader in the clubhouse for this receiving core.
Poor
done for the
Sterling
year.
Shepard, dude. Poor Sterling Shepard. And I really mean that because I swear every year he comes up and he like throughout the first few weeks, he'll have a game where he has like 8 catches for like 90 yards, like nothing crazy, like air yardage wise, but always will be that PPR guy that you'll look for early on the waiver wire. And then he'll break the whole left side of his body or he'll tear everything on his right leg. No matter what happens, like every single season, this dude just gets hurt and it just really sucks.
So I don't know where you pivot to on this receiving core. It's pretty brutal.
I mean, Richie James is available in probably most leagues still if you really need it, but
Kenny G sucks. You want to hear his stat line? No catches for no yards with 3 targets. Awesome.
God damn, he's good.
And then we also know that Wan'Dale Robinson is still hurt, and then Kadarius Toney is either getting the coaches they're upset with him at some point, or he's hurt. So nothing to really look for there. That was the Monday Night Football game where the Dallas Cowboys won 23-21. Joe, next up on the show, do we have a couple trades to break?
So who's going to take this one? Because this is between me and you. Usually we let the other
maybe we'll let
person
Jake,
talk about
but
our
hold on.
trades.
Before that, pause for the sound.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Go ahead, Jake. Do you want to break down this first trade?
I mean, I'm feeling more special by the minute. I would love to. So this trade was between Joe and Testoni.
That's me.
We got your
I'm
two
Joe.
co-hosts, ladies and gentlemen. Joe receives Dalton Schultz, Jeff Wilson, and Brian Robinson. And Testoni receives DK Metcalf, Michael Gallup, and J.K. Dobbins. I mean, what do you guys think? You made the trade.
I'll chime in early. From the outside looking in, if you hear those 3 names on each who got who, obviously you're going to recognize DK Metcalf, Michael Gallup, and J.K. Dobbins way more than Dalton Schultz, Jeff Wilson, and Brian Robinson. So, yeah, we always have to talk about roster construction a little bit. I won't get too deep into it, but considering my running back situation, I was looking to get Jeff Wilson out of this. That was my main piece out of this. I initially tried to get Chris Godwin from you, but I was unable to do so, and I was willing to
he's
take.
Gone.
Yeah, he is gone. But I was willing to take Dalton Schultz within this and give up some of my wide receiver depth that I don't really think I need. Because I'm confident in my starting wide receivers, and I was able to continue to build running back depth that I do need, considering I don't have 2 locked in starters on my lineup. So that's kind of my reasoning behind it. I don't know if you want to chime in a little bit, Tessoni. Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Schultz is kind of dealing with injuries, but he'll be fine. I
think he might play this week, actually. Sorry to cut you off, because he practiced in full today, I believe.
I just think right now with him kind of still dealing with an injury and also just that offense, how it's looking, I think he's a good tight end, but he's not what I wanted him to be, which is like a difference maker tight end, which is fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. Tight ends, if you're not having like the top 3, it kind of is just a crapshoot of what you get that week. So I'm fine with that. Jeff Wilson, I picked him up in week 1. He just wasn't finding his way into my lineup because my running backs were Swift and Kamara. They're no longer there, either of them. So we'll get into that later. But that's fine because I wanted to move on. That he can get me a piece. He never played for me. And Brian Robinson, I drafted literally late and just threw him on the IR. So if I can get any value out of him, it's fine. I pick up Gallup, who I like, J.K. Dobbins, who I really like, and DK Metcalf. I have DK Metcalf in another league. Yeah, well,
he go.
DK Metcalf, I'll get more into him in this next trade, but I saw a way to prosper. I'll take Dobbins because I'm kind of what I'm doing now is I pivoted off my 2 high price running backs. I'm going less running backs and trying to build a stronger wide receiver core. And that leads us into the second trade. Joe, do you want to?
Yes, I'll get into that trade real quick. But one last thing I do want to say is it's funny because I drafted Michael Gallup late and stuck him straight on the IR, and you did the same thing with Brian Robinson, and then we just flipped it. Yeah. But getting into the next trade here, Tetsoni's also involved in this one. The fire sale is real. Jackson Edelman is involved with this. Jackson Edelman received from Testoni DK Metcalf. He didn't stay long. Alvin Kamara. Chris Godwin. Those are his 3. These are both 3 for 3 trades today. And Testoni received from Jackson back A.J. Brown. Wow. Elijah Mitchell, IR. Tyler Conklin.
Conk.
So I'll kind of just from the outside looking and talk about it a little bit. Obviously, it's funny. DK didn't last very long.
Nope.
I was trying to get rid of DK. I think I've offered DK to Jake Wills like 18 times so far this year. He doesn't want to touch it. You give up Alvin Kamara, Tessoni. We talked about this a little bit, just kind of we didn't talk about any specific trades, but just kind of talked about our thoughts on trading Kamara in general. And I think you being able to get AJ Brown back was very good, but Alvin Kamara has just not looked like Alvin Kamara. It's been weird. He's been getting most of the work, not all of the work that he's got in the past, but he just hasn't had any ability to break off any big runs. None of that's happened. And we're 3 weeks into the season. So it's hard to assume that things are going to change drastically in the future. He's also not getting the receiving work that he typically did. So I'm all for you getting rid of Alvin Kamara. I would have loved if you could have kept Chris Godwin. I'm sure you would have loved that too. But you getting AJ Brown back, who has proved us both wrong from our preseason thoughts, and really been that number 1 guy that Philly needed with Jalen Hurts, and then getting a couple depth pieces because I know you were struggling a little bit at tight end as well to get Conk and Elijah Mitchell. So I like it.
Yeah, so I'll speak to it. Kamara, it's really tough, right? If I would have had to choose, I would have kept Swift, but Swift's injury made me move him. I really wanted to get rid of Kamara. I didn't like what I was seeing. Like you said, there was something I heard earlier in the week from Field Yates on the ESPN thing. Not only has Kamara been super inefficient running the football, but the Saints' philosophy has completely changed. They are not trying to win games with blowout scores. They're winning like low scoring games. And it's weird because they have Jameis Winston, but they're really playing a different style. And with no Sean Payton, no Drew Brees, and, there's just not great vibes around Kamara. Now, I say all this, and he's going to come out with his goddamn, Christmas shoes from, 2 years ago, Joe Briner, Alvin Kamara, and he's going to score 5 fucking touchdowns this weekend. So that'll probably happen. Kamara's not catching the football. And to be honest with you, if you go through his stats career, Kamara is not necessarily the most efficient runner. And that's what he's being used as. And I just thought I had to pivot off him. Like I said, I wanted to move on from him, not necessarily Swift, but his injury made me do that. So I want to get rid of Kamara and get some value. Now, after I made that trade with you, Joe, my wide receiver room was T. Higgins, Sherry Judy, Deontay Johnson, Hunter Renfro, Chris Godwin, Nico Collins, DK Metcalf, and Michael Gallup. That's 8 wide receivers.
Good
And
God.
all of them are not necessarily like tier breakers. So I wanted to get rid of a couple wide receivers and get a superstar. And I think AJ Brown can be that guy. So that's what led me to do this. And, DK had a nice week last week. Geno Smith is doing a fine job running that offense. But let's be honest, it's tempered expectations. It's DK Metcalf or it's Geno Smith. He's thrown for 200 yards once this year in 3 weeks. So there was just a lot that went into it for me. Godwin hasn't played yet. He's got injury things. I know that was the one that hurt to give up. But for the most part, I'm giving up. If you look at this trade, it's more namesakes. Don't think of it as names as DK Metcalf, Alvin Kamara, Chris Godwin. Think about what they've done this year. And all 3 of them, I mean, besides Metcalf in 1 week, they haven't done much. And I'll take AJ Brown, who looks like he's on the rise on a great offense in Philadelphia. And I mean, the other 2 were just throwing pieces to keep, and hopefully they do something. So that was my thoughts with that.
Sounds good to me, to be honest.
Can I add one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
It's never been mentioned on this show before, I don't believe, but this was a trade offer to me. Was Elijah Mitchell and Tyler Conklin for Austin Eckler. Straight up.
Well, yeah, that's
wow.
That's the thing. So I was in talks all week to try to get. I was really high on trying to get Amari Cooper from Smitty, or who I got, which was AJ Brown. That's where I narrowed it down to, and then eventually I had to make a deal. So I wanted to get 1 running back in return, but dump 3 wide receiver or a couple wide receivers to get something else back. That was my thought process. Look,
Understood.
I'm 0-3. I have nothing to lose. Sometimes you got to take a risk. Who gives a shit? Should we go into our starts and sits of the week?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll start out. My start this week, first one, Drake London. This guy has done nothing but impress me.
I'm hip.
He only had 3 catches last week, but he also got into the end zone. They know how to get it to him. And you know what? For every reason everyone likes Kyle Pitts, you should have the same reason to like Drake London, except Drake London gets thrown the ball more. So that's why I'm going Drake London. I also have Jamal Williams on here. Swift is out. I mean, the matchups just, I feel like, work out. For Detroit, they are playing Seattle. I mean, come on. That's not the Seattle of old. You can run the football on them, and I think Detroit is one of the better offenses in the NFL, which is crazy to say, but they are. They're scoring. And with no Swift, maybe no Amon-Ra, Jamal Williams can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a loved guy there. They love to get him the football. I'm all over that. So those are my starts of the week.
My starts of the week here. My first one here is Javonte Williams. I know that is music to Jake Will's ears. He is in his flex position. He hasn't really had, I mean, he had week 1, I believe, is when he had like the 10 catch game or something like that, but he hasn't really broken out since then. He's had, 9.5 and 9.0 fantasy points. If he gets the 15 carries that he has been weeks 2 and 3 against this 29th ranked Las Vegas Raiders, like fantasy wise rushing defense, I don't see how Javonte Williams doesn't find the end zone. Probably will have about 4 or 5 targets. And I mean, should have close to, if not over 100 scrimmage yards on the day. So I definitely love him there. My next guy is Chris Olave. We mentioned Michael Thomas not looking so great for his chances to play this week. And I think if it's just Jarvis and Chris Olave, I think Chris Olave is just at this point in their careers, even though Olave's like brand new rookie, but with Jarvis just being an older guy now, I think Chris Olave would take over that wide receiver core.
Yeah. So my start is a little shout out to our good friend Spano. It's start James Robinson. I've had enough of
for
this.
real.
I want you to put him in the lineup.
That's actually a great start of the week. That is a great one.
And I mean that, and also they're playing against the Eagles this week. I feel like they're going to be down, and this might be the gut check for. Sorry, I know he's a Clemson man, but for Trevor Lawrence, where he might get nervous and just check down a little bit too much this week, and that gives James Robinson a big chance to have a big PPR week.
I like it.
Nice. That is a good call, telling Spano to start him because he's been on his bench.
I'll go into my sitting as I look at it. We got 3 running backs we're sitting. I'm sitting Antonio Gibson. His snap count has done nothing but go down. I think it's going to be a week where they're down. I hate to say it, boys. I think they're going to be down. I think it's going to be a J.D. McKissick targets type of week.
First of all, how dare you?
Well, Cooper
It's
Rush
okay.
is undefeated, man.
He is, I know.
Can't be beat. And does anyone else think he kind of looks like Andy Dalton underneath the helmet?
A little bit, yeah.
I mean,
But
little
it's
bit
funny.
handsomer.
It's funny that you mentioned Cooper Rush being undefeated. That's how I decided between the Cowboys and the Giants. Like, could I see Cooper Rush going undefeated 3-0 as a starter, or can I see the Giants starting 3-0 as a team? And I chose Cooper Rush.
there
But
you go. Well, I think Antonio Gibson should be sat this week.
And my sit of the week is Josh Jacobs. It's funny, I am going to the opposite side of that same game with Javonte Williams, but Josh Jacobs has been getting the work. I believe he's yet to find the end zone. Check that, double check real quick. Yet to find the end zone. Last week he did have 5 catches. If that continues, which I don't see it 100% considering he only had 1 in weeks 1 and 2. I just think against this Denver defense, who, although the Denver offense hasn't looked great, the Denver defense has proven to be elite and they have been shutting teams down. I don't see Josh Jacobs getting involved too much, and I think that they will have to pass the ball.
And my sit of the week, I'm sorry, Soup, but it's Dalvin Cook. And my main reason for this is because, he's getting off the flight. He's got this crazy arm thing on.
Okay.
The device.
And I think, isn't there such a tradition as the London Under?
The
Isn't that
Lunder?
what they call it? Yes.
You know what? I believe that those games
The
do
Lunder.
take a little bit to get going.
So, yeah, I at least think the first half, just the whole game's not going to see a lot of offensive production. So I put Dalvin Cook.
All right. Those are the starts and sits of the week. Joe, do you want to go into the fantasy matchups first instead of Sunday preview? Let's get into the fantasy matchup previews.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. So we are going to kick it off here with, of course, Lur's picks. We did indeed get Lur to send us his picks of the week. We're going to start off
get an
here.
update on his record, by the way.
We do. That's a good call. We have
next episode, I'll get you an update on his record.
Love that. Love that. All right. So we're obviously going to start with family. Lur's brother, Derek.
Yeah.
Naturally, that's who he picks. Derek, the Dainty Ducks, will face Sam Smith. And Lur has taken Derek. Derek is actually projected to win right now, but that's because Sam Smith has his entire bench in his starting roster to
Mind
see if it
games.
was going to affect Lur's picks, which
Genius. What mind
clearly
games?
it did. Although Lur was probably going to pick Derek regardless. The projection could have been 100 to like 5. But Derek here, I'm just going to highlight some of his guys just so other people listening will remember. He's got the love of his life, Cordero Patterson. The other love of his life has been sitting on his bench, Tom Brady. Joe Mixon as well. Hollywood, Curtis Samuel, Travis Kelce, and Brandon Cooks. Sam Smith on the other end, I'm going to have to go look at his bench. He's got 2 damn good running backs, CMC and Saquon Barkley. And then obviously wide receiver-wise, guys like Amari Cooper, Garrett Wilson. Christian Kirk probably would be that third guy started in that bunch. So, yeah, Larry's going to take Derek here. The projection's pretty close when the actual starters are in, so I think this is going to be a good matchup. Next pick here, we have Bryce versus Jackson, and Lur has taken Bryce in this matchup. Jackson here is slightly ahead on the projections by about 2 points. He will probably increase, actually, I'd have to do a little math, but I think he'll increase a little bit after getting Kamara. I know he will be losing A.J. Brown, so it might come out to pretty similar.
Yeah, well, it might increase in the prediction, but I bet you the actual points will go fucking down.
Yeah, exactly. But he also has Derrick Henry, so those will be his 1-2 guys. He's losing A.J. Brown now, bringing in DK Metcalf and as well as Justin Jefferson. Bryce on the other end, he does have the triple stack in Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Juju Smith-Schuster, as well as Mark Andrews being his tight end, which is a great piece to have there. That positional advantage is huge. And maybe that took into account why Lur picked Bryce. So Bryce over Jackson. Next pick here, we have Spano versus Diego, and Lur has taken Diego in this matchup. He will have Diego going 4-0, the only undefeated team left in this league. Diego's highlighted. Yeah, auto drafter. Diego's highlighted
fucking
by
believable
Cooper Kupp and CeeDee Lamb. And I will not say anymore. He did indeed accept a trade for DeAndre Swift this past week. We got into it in our last episode. That is classic. But quote for quote, planning for the future, lads, is Diego Grijalva.
Buy or beware.
Yeah. On the other side, we do have Spano.
Best in town.
Shout out Spano. This
Best
is from
around.
Jake Wills. Start James Robinson.
Put him in.
That may be collusion, but we won't get into that. Spano has Najee Harris, or I should really highlight the quarterback first. He has Josh Allen. Najee Harris, Damian Pierce are his running backs. Michael Thomas is still in his roster, who is projected 0 at the moment, so that does affect the projection, so I won't get into that. As well as Drake London, Testoni start of the week. Coming in next, we have your co-host Joey Bronner versus the commissioner Andy Collins.
Woo, go Joe!
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Lur has yet to pick me. This is our fourth matchup, and he has not picked me once. I am 2-1, so suck it, Lur. But he has picked Andy this time, so he still hasn't picked me. Which is good because so far so good with him not picking me. Andy is slightly ahead on the projections. He's highlighted by Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, his colded up stack. He also has a stack of Tua and Jalen Waddle, who will be playing in this Thursday night game. He does have Khalil Herbert plugged in over Aaron Jones, Intersante, as well as Keenan Allen in the flex, who is still questionable. So Aaron Jones might still get the start.
I don't think Keenan Allen's playing, so might as well just throw Aaron Jones in there.
I'm thinking so as well. My roster, it was bounced around all year. I'm a trade kind of fantasy football player. So Russell Wilson, the best quarterback in the nation. Let's ride.
That's unlimited.
But I have decided that I'm going to start just like loving him instead of hating him. Maybe something will change with the
positive reinforcement, Joe. Come on,
Exactly. That's what I'm trying. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm highlighted by my receiving core. To be honest, nothing else looks that great. I have Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and Cortland Sutton as my 3 wide receivers. Newly, Jeff Wilson's in the lineup as well. So that is Andy over me is Lur's pick. Coming up next year, we have the other 2 on the podcast at the moment, Jake Wills and Nick Testoni.
Hi, Jake.
Oh boy.
Lur has taken.
Oh boy.
Nick Testoni.
Let's just give it up for
Lur's pick. Yeah, go
first
ahead.
Win of the year.
Go ahead and give him the win now.
Go ahead and put it down. Give me the dub.
Joe, I am just with you there. I have never been selected by Lur to win.
Awesome.
And I'm 1-2. So how about that?
So we'll see what happens between you guys. Projection wise, Wills does have a clear advantage of 20 points at the moment.
Wow. I don't have my star AJ Brown yet. By the way,
that's true. Good call. I did not think of that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Good call.
I will say that me and Jake were in trade talks this week until we realized that we were playing each other. We realized that about a day and a half ago.
So, yes, you do not have AJ Brown yet, so the projections will get better, a little more even. Jake Wills does have the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football right now, Lamar Willis Jackson, who has been outstanding. But he also does have a few running backs that he drafted early on that have really not panned out, I'm going to say, just yet. Austin Eckler, Leonard Fournette, and Javonte Williams, my start of the week. So I hope that comes true for you. Sorry, Testoni. His wide receiver core has been a little up and down. Right now, he has starting Gabriel Davis and Brandon Ayuk. This will be the second time that he hooked on a Thielen, does not start Adam Thielen. So if you're playing DFS,
the week is early. We don't know.
That's true. Good call.
What about that London? That
Gabe
London
Davis it's might not even make it to Sunday. We don't know.
What about the Lunder though?
That's true. You got to think of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll also chime or check in on the roster come Sunday morning to see if we want to bet the house on Adam Thielen to score a touchdown or not if he's in the lineup. On the flip side, if you do start Adam Thielen, the guy who's going to be throwing it to him is Testoni's quarterback, Kirk Cousins, as well as a wide receiver core that looks pretty good now that is only going to get better with T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, Jerry Jeudy right now, but you can go ahead and kick Jerry Jeudy out.
You
of
go ahead and tell Jerry Jeudy to go grab some pine. He might be traded by the end of the week. Just let that be known. He's not. Nobody's safe who was drafted by me.
Aaron or AJ Brown will indeed be taking a starting spot there. So yeah, Testoni over Wills, Lur's pick. And lastly, we have Soup versus Atkins, where Lur has taken Soup and Sammy's. Soup and Sammy's does have a 4-point projection over Andrew Atkins, my brown cow. Soup's team has really panned out. I'm not going to lie. He does have Jalen Hurts, Dalvin Cook, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Darren Waller. Those are his highlighted main guys.
I don't know if Amon-Ra's playing.
We do not know if he's going to play. I've been really trying to get him from him, to be honest. And I'm kind of having second thoughts about even sending the trades. Obviously, he didn't take him, so it doesn't really matter. But I wasn't assuming that the injury was that bad that he wasn't going to play this upcoming week. But on the flip side, we are highlighted for Andrew Atkins with Nick Chubb. David Montgomery was his RB2, but is now on his bench considering his projection is at 0. So Tony Pollard is filling in for that. with a solid wide receiver core of
Yeah, it does.
Jamar Chase, Debo Samuel, and Chris Olave is in the flex instead of DJ Moore, considering DJ Moore's recent struggles.
DJ Moore sucks.
Yeah,
The player
no
doesn't
kidding.
suck. The situation sucks.
It does suck.
Atkins is a big fan of him too. I feel like he has him every year.
He
Yeah.
definitely has.
He's going to win his Ring of Honor.
So those are Lur's picks. We have Derek over Sam Smith, Bryce over Jackson, Diego over Spano, Andy over me, Testoni over Wills, and Soup over Atkins. Those are Lur's picks of the week. I will run through our standings real quick just for the boys.
Oh, come on. We don't need to do that.
I'm sorry. But Diego, the auto drafter, is sitting at 3-0. The only undefeated team left who, according to Lur, will become 4-0. And then we have a nice little grouping of Will Spano, Brian Brooks, and Jackson Edelman, who is co-managing together. Brian Brooks showed up first in this app. Sorry, Jackson. Andy is also 2-1. Andrew Atkins 2-1, and I am 2-1. Followed by a little. I'm just seeing you down at the bottom.
No, please read the fucking thing.
The next grouping at 1 and 2 is Soup and Sammy's. That is our boy Soup and Sam James. Sam Smith is also in that list with Jake Wills, Bryce Phobel, and Derek Titano. And then pause for dramatic effect. At the 0-3 squad, my co-host, my brother, I love him, Nick Testoni.
Well, I'd just like to thank the Academy. And, well, let's be honest. The team that was 0-3 is no longer together. I broke them up. So we'll see.
True.
Week 1 starts this week. Real quick, before we go to break and hit our Sunday preview, I got a special little segment. I love October. I love spooky season. So I got a special little October special question. Joe, can you please get your eyes on your matchup? You are playing
I'm
Papa
playing Andy.
Kamish.
Yes.
Who is the scariest player in Andy's lineup? Who are you scared of the most this week to put on a big
okay. So that's what it
performance?
is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look at the matchups. You got Pittman,
the number 1 overall pick in fantasy this year.
Jonathan Taylor.
That, I mean, obviously,
He's been a little down, but you think
against
he's going to have a big
Tennessee.
week against Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good matchup against Tennessee. Other guys have been able to run on him, like I can remember Saquon Barkley, and I believe, I mean, Tennessee just played the Raiders, which gave Josh Jacobs his best fantasy performance yet. Yes, he did. So definitely worried about playing Jonathan Taylor.
Gotcha. And Jake Wills, my lineup. Now, just imagine that AJ Brown's there.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Okay. So
who is the player in my lineup you're scared of the most?
I'm going to have to go with Kirk Cousins because I'm going to bench Adam Thielen this week, and he is going to throw him 9 touchdown passes and kill my Lunder. All in one.
The double whammy.
Yeah, that is terrifying. Now, the player I'm scared of the most in your lineup, the obvious one, obviously, people would say Lamar Jackson. Well, I'm already counting on him putting up a lot of points. I'm going to say Gabe Davis if he plays because he's playing against my Ravens. I'll be at the game. And if I've seen anything from this secondary, you could throw a paper airplane and it would get through. I mean, this team can't stop a nosebleed in the secondary. So if Gabe Davis plays and is out there a lot, who's a big play guy, it could be a long day for the Baltimore Ravens. And the newly named, no longer the Macho Man Randy Savages. I told you teams were the change was coming. La Familia Testoni. That's the new team name. We rebranded. And if Gabe Davis has a good day, I'm very scared of him. Joe, let's hit a break and then we'll get the Sunday preview.
Yes, indeed.